Will never go away. It'll always be with me. And I think I saw somewhere the sadness is a reminder of how much.
Just feel like, I did something right in life.
He was supposed to grow old, to walk his daughter down the aisle, to cheer as she graduated, to chuckle that famous warm-hearted chuckle that had lit up television screens across America for decades. But instead, Malcolm Jamal Warner came home in a box. The headlines called it an accident. The authorities said it was a drowning. The wife made moves, the officials issued statements, and within hours the story had been washed clean. But the truth, or what remains of it, still lingers, clawing through silence, held together by fragments of witness accounts, a cryptic email, and one name, Theopiles, July 20th, 2025. Cockles Beach, Costa Rica. The sky was the color of melted gold, the ocean glimmering with the innocence of a summer day. Malcolm, with a flower tucked behind his ear, a birthday gift from his daughter, stood smiling into a camera. "There's always a reason to smile," he said. Hours later, that smile vanished forever. The official report was swift and surgical. Drowning. Daughter not in the water, no foul play, end of file. But if you've been paying attention, you already know. That isn't the story. Witnesses say otherwise. A surfer says he saw Malcolm's daughter struggling in the current, Malcolm diving in without hesitation. Others on the beach claim the girl was treated for shock by Red Cross medics. They remember Malcolm's body pulled from the surf, limp, breathless. There was a delay in CPR. There was confusion. But these details never made the police report. The narrative had already been locked, the image polished, heroism omitted. And while the tide still foamed with memory, his wife allegedly contacted lawyers, not for a memorial, not to arrange family travel, but to transfer over $12 million in assets. By morning, she was sole beneficiary. The daughter was denied one final goodbye. Cremation was pushed, hard and fast. No autopsy, no toxicology, no second chances, only ashes. Ashes don't talk. He was supposed to grow old, not become a headline, not become a whisper, not become another ash-scattered name buried beneath silence and legal filings and hurried statements typed by PR firms and rubber-stamped by governments. Not become a father his daughter would only speak to through framed photographs and the blurred lines of memory. Not become a hollow space in a house filled with laughter and wisdom and that warm, disarming chuckle that once lit up living rooms across America. That chuckle which carried the soul of an entire generation. A sound so distinct it belonged in the Library of Congress, and yet now it belonged only to ghosts. He was supposed to walk her down the aisle, supposed to hold her hand with the same hands that once held her when she was no heavier than a breath, supposed to hug her after her graduation and laugh like he always did when she got emotional over simple things, supposed to grow old in peace, not perish in mystery, not vanish beneath waves that refused to testify, not be sealed in a box while the world was still singing happy birthday, not be erased by the tides of money and motive and betrayal, but on July 20th, 2025, on a beach that looked too beautiful to kill someone, under a sky too golden to witness evil, and beside an ocean too calm to know complicity, Malcolm Jamal Warner came home in a box, and every frame of that day, every laugh, every camera click, every seagull that flew overhead, is now a crime scene in disguise, a gallery of clues ignored, sanitized, and swept away like sea foam at high tide. For the headlines called it a tragic accident. The officials called it a clean drowning. The wife called her lawyers, and within hours, the story was sealed like a vault, wrapped in PR grief and corporate condolences. But the truth, or what remains of it, has claws, and it scratches at the doors of the internet, clawing through silence, still breathing in the mouths of witnesses too scared to speak, and in the final texts unsent, in the cryptic emails left hanging in inboxes like severed threads, in the tremble of a child's voice still begging for answers, still waking from nightmares soaked in salt water, and above all else, in the single name repeated again and again by those who dared whisper the conspiracy: Theopiles. Cockles Beach, Costa Rica, just after 4:13 p.m., when the sun paints the water gold and the air smells like papaya and sunscreen, when tourists gather to take selfies with the sky and locals gather to sell their bracelets and mangoes and secrets, and Malcolm stood smiling with a flower tucked behind his left ear, a hibiscus his daughter had picked for his birthday just hours before. A smile that said everything was fine. A smile that would be frozen in pixels and grief. A smile caught forever in the last video posted to his daughter's now-deleted Instagram story, where he says, "There's always a reason to smile." And those words would haunt timelines and obituaries and radio broadcasts. Those words would be repeated by fans and pastors and conspiracy theorists alike. US Embassy, not to her daughter, but to her lawyer in Los Angeles. A man whose name we're withholding for now, but who has previously represented, or like Theopile's affiliated clients, in wrongful death cases and NDA negotiations. And within 5 hours of the incident, $12 million in life insurance, pension accounts, and real estate holdings were transferred into a private trust with Lorna as sole beneficiary, with the daughter reportedly removed from several key inheritances for her safety, according to a now-deleted legal note leaked from a paralegal intern. And while fans across the globe lit candles and flooded timelines with tributes, while Hollywood stars issued vague statements and thoughts and prayers tweets, while a mural of Malcolm appeared in Inglewood and was mysteriously painted over 3 days later, cremation was ordered, hard and fast, expedited by a local judge whose wife has ties to a Costa Rican resort chain co-owned by, you guessed it, Theopile's Holdings Group. There was no autopsy, no toxicology, no second chance, no exhumation, just ashes. And ashes don't talk, but people do. And some still are, quietly, carefully, anonymously. A surfer, Local 32, goes by Chico, posted on Reddit under a throwaway account that he saw a man matching Malcolm's description running into the ocean after a girl screaming and splashing, that lifeguards were missing, that 2 gringo men in earpieces blocked paramedics from reaching the body for several minutes, and that he was later approached and offered cash to stay quiet, then threatened when he refused. A vacationing nurse from Seattle left a 1-star Yelp review of the resort, citing security interference during medical emergency, but the review was flagged and removed. A beach vendor claimed to have video of the aftermath. Footage, he says, was taken from his drone before military-type men confiscated the device and threatened to deport him. The video has never surfaced. His stand was burned down 2 nights later. All coincidental, perhaps, but coincidences don't come in clusters that clean. And then there's the email, dated July 19th, 9:14 p.m., sent from Malcolm's personal account to a longtime friend in New York. It read simply, "Something's off. I'll explain when we're home. Theopiles is here. Don't trust L." That email, confirmed by the recipient, vanished from both inbox and sent folder within 48 hours. The friend, a jazz musician, has since gone dark. His phone rings to voicemail. His apartment in Harlem stands empty. Neighbors say they saw uniformed men removing hard drives from his studio. Meanwhile, the daughter, 14 years old, shell-shocked, reportedly under psychiatric care, has not spoken publicly. Sources close to her claim she's not even with her mother anymore. Custody has been shifted to an undisclosed guardian, and while official statements call it a private family matter, insiders hint at court proceedings sealed by emergency injunctions. Her school records were quietly expunged, her social media scrubbed, as if someone wanted her to disappear, not physically, but digitally, legally, emotionally. So who is Theopiles? That's the question spinning in the corners of conspiracy forums, in cryptic live streams by Hollywood whistleblowers, in the angry rants of ex-bodyguards and ex-lawyers and ex-nannies who now live under assumed names. Some say Theopiles is a holding company. Some say it's a shadow network of entertainment financiers with ties to talent agencies, private equity, and media conglomerates. Some say it's not a company at all, but a code name for a syndicate that orchestrates narrative control, silences dissidents, and manages the rise and fall of black talent in Hollywood with chilling precision. Cat Williams once mentioned it briefly in an interview before being cut off. Dave Chappelle alluded to them in one of his monologues. And Malcolm? He never said the name publicly. But those who knew him say he was asking questions, pushing back, planning a documentary that traced the exploitation of black actors post-fame, a project that would have named names, a project he never got to finish. And now, His final project is silence, unless we break it. Unless we ask why a healthy, sober man drowned in calm waters. Why a girl who loved her father is now cut off from his memory. Why a wife made a fortune in 48 hours and has not once stood in front of a camera to grieve. Why no one will say the word murder. Why witnesses are vanishing. Why the only physical evidence, his body, was burned before a single second opinion could be offered. Why Malcolm Jamal Warner, a man who built a legacy of integrity, warmth, and truth, died surrounded by cameras, but no footage exists. And why, in a world where everything is filmed, not a... She hadn't spoken for 17 days. Not to her mother, not to the press, not to the therapists flown in from LA with their laminated trauma charts and softly lit exercises, not to the lawyers who smiled too wide when they told her the money would be protected, not to the handlers who hovered near her bed with tablets and NDAs disguised as permission slips, not even to the priest her mother hired for a private healing session in a Beverly Hills mansion where everything smelled of new leather and bleach, not since the ocean took him, or rather, since the people who hid behind the ocean made sure he never came back. And though her lips hadn't moved in over 2 weeks, her mind screamed every night and every minute of the day, replaying the moment she saw her father dive into the water, the panic that swallowed him, the stillness that followed, the hands that held her back. Not lifeguards, not tourists, not even resort staff, but men she'd never seen before, men with no uniforms, no faces, just voices that whispered, "It's okay," in the exact same tone one uses to hide a crime, and from that moment she knew, even before the funeral she never attended, before the urn was sealed, before the headlines were washed clean, that her father didn't just die. He was disappeared, and everything after that moment was a stage play written by someone else, by some shadowed hand that signed checks with one word at the bottom, Theophiles. It started with the envelope, plain, brown, unmarked, slipped beneath her door in the middle of the night while she stayed at a private grief wellness estate in Colorado, where cameras lined the ceilings and cell phones were replaced with landlines that clicked when she spoke. The envelope contained 3 things: a USB drive, a photo of her father soaked and unconscious on the beach surrounded by unmarked medics, and a post-it note with 3 words in red ink: trust no one. The handwriting was familiar, slightly crooked, a style she remembered from the birthday cards her father used to write by hand, even after everyone else had gone digital. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. She just sat still and listened to the silence between the walls, and for the first time, she realized the cameras weren't just for her protection, they were surveillance. She waited until night, until the sound of the guards' boots faded, until the hallway lights dimmed, and then she opened her father's old laptop, the one she'd kept hidden beneath a floorboard of her suite, one of the last things not confiscated, for evidence, and plugged in the USB. What she saw changed everything. Footage, grainy, time-stamped, July 20th, 2025. 4 minutes of drone video showing Malcolm wading into the water, pulling his daughter onto a board, trying to swim her back to shore. And then, 3 men, emerging from behind a dune, running toward the scene, signaling to someone off camera. One man kneels over Malcolm's body, appears to administer CPR, and then suddenly stops. Another man is seen collecting something from Malcolm's wrist. The footage cuts out for 23 seconds. When it returns, Malcolm is lying face up, but no longer receiving treatment. Paramedics arrive, late. 2 beachgoers argue with the men. One points at a phone, then walks off. Theophiles' agents, clearly identifiable from matching black polos and gold emblems, later matched to a known security division in Panama, are seen directing the crowd away, rerouting cameras, even confiscating a phone from a tourist. And just like that, her world split in 2. There was the version of events the public had been fed. A father's tragic drowning, a daughter saved by fate, a grieving widow protecting what was left of her family. And then there was the truth, staged, scrubbed, silenced. She had 2 choices: stay quiet, live in the golden prison her mother had built, let her father become another closed case on a forgotten beach,